When it comes to awakening, when it comes to self realization, there are four gates that you will have to pass through. And today, I'll share with you what those four gates are. Now, in no particular order, it's not that the first gate will come. These are not milestones because life is not exactly linear. Time is not exactly linear. That was, in fact, the basis of Einstein's whole theory of relativity. Now, I'm not an expert in that, nor am I a physicist or an astrophysicist or a quantum physicist. But broadly, the idea was that, for example, if it takes 8 minutes for sun rays to travel to Earth, and Einstein said, think of a beam that's traveling at a very fast pace. He said, now keep increasing the speed of that one single beam. Then eventually you will realize these are just wave particles or just simple wave, just traveling in a zigzag motion. And how come it is traveling from there to this particular place, Earth or other places? Or more importantly, the point I want to make is the sun we are looking at now is 8 minutes old. If this very moment it ceased to exist, we won't know for 8 minutes. If a planet is 200 light years away and that planet ceases to exist today, we won't know for 200 light years. We will be looking at present when in fact it's the past. So, one of the signs or one of the accomplishments or one of the outcomes of awakening is you realize the transcendental nature of time. You no longer look upon time as this thing happened to me, then that thing happened to me. Yesterday I was 20, now I'm 21, or I'm 40, or time is passing, or life is passing. This is all one big illusion. All that is happening is a body is there made up of tiny millions and trillions of units. And everyday body, this unit is shedding many, and many new are coming. There is actually, really to think about it, there is no life, no death. There is nothing, which Buddha called emptiness. And that is the first gate. On the path to awakening, there comes a phase in your life. There comes this deep realization that nothing has any real essence, that everything is empty. Now, emptiness is not a nihilistic view. It doesn't mean that nothing exists or everything is bad, everything is crap. Emptiness means whatever exists, its meaning to me is as good as whatever I assign it. Its value to me is restricted to whatever value I perceive from that thing. If I think something is important to me, it will be. If I think something is not important to me, it won't be. Inherently, it's empty. And until we realize that emptiness, until you come to a moment when you see that how everything is empty, the charms or the charm of life, the attraction of the this transient world that is ever changing, ever moving, remains very strong. Forgetting the real essence of why we are here and what we can do with our lives. We, forgetting that, we just indulge in things that have no bearing on anything. Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody wants to be in bliss. But most people's actions, thoughts, and words are not in line with what they actually want. In fact, if that's not enough, they are the exact opposite of what they should be doing. It's very clear, if you want to be happy, you've got to do things that will lead to happiness. Negative emotions, negative words, negative actions will not lead to happiness. So that is where ignorance lives. We want something, but everything that most people do is not leading to that outcome. It is going in the opposite direction. So until you really get a handle on this, that how the world, everything in it carries a sense of emptiness, you will continue to get battered and tossed from one end to another because of these cyclical emotions, episodes, incidents, desires, and what have you. Everything. It is said that one time you might have read the story of Amrapali, whom Buddha initiated eventually, and she was a courtesan. One time she was dancing, and she was also an actor who performed in like drama and similar things. And Buddha said to her in front of his disciples, he said, how long it took you to master your craft, this dance form, this acting, and your other aspects of your trade or craft? She said, pretty much ever since I was 13 years old, I've been in it. So a lifetime. And yet, Buddha said, I am much better than you in all these. I'm a much better actor. She said, Tathagata, I did not understand at all what you meant. He said, you see, I'm empty. And because I'm empty, I can be anything. But if you are full, then you're restricted. You are deeply constrained. You are, in fact, chained by your beliefs, by your conditioning, by whatever it is that you wish for. So only the one that is empty is actually free to grow. Only that person is free to fly, to be liberated. If you are full, you are heavy. It's going to be tiring. This girl asked Mullah Nasruddin, her father, he said that, I really like you so much, you know. So I think I really need to seek advice from you. What kind of husband should I look for? I want to get married. And Mullah said, my daughter, leave the husbands alone. You look for single men, all right? Now, when you realize the emptiness of this world, you are left with no choice but to leave the world alone. And that leads me to the second gate of awakening, which is the gate of insignificance. There is this natural thing when you realize emptiness, you kind of, not exactly, you kind of become a little detached from the world because it's not yours and it's not there forever. It's exactly like living in a rental house. You will never go out of your way to get the walls fixed or the walls painted or the leaking tap fixed. You'll say, it's landlord's problem, not mine. If anything, you're so terrible, you're likely to abuse the property. It's human nature. It is unbelievable how human mind works. The moment you perceive something as yours, you take care of it entirely differently. But the moment, even if you're using it, it is yours, but you think it is not mine, and it is certainly not mine forever, you use it completely differently. So that detachment comes naturally when you realize partial detachment, not complete. The complete one, I'll get to it in a moment, comes naturally when you realize how insignificant whatever it is that we do is in the grand scheme of things. In this extraordinary, constant, unceasing, incessant play of nature, what you discover is doesn't matter how big, how phenomenal, how great. You could be a billionaire, trillionaire, whatever. You could be a Nobel Prize winner. You could be the greatest writer. You could have done whatever it is that others could not even imagine. Ultimately, it means nothing. Even if it means something, ultimately, it is simply insignificant. So, if there is mindfulness and there is the constant understanding that everything is inherently empty, the emotions you feel at seeing the injury of somebody you don't even know versus one of your loved ones, it's completely different. Let's say there's an accident on the road and a stranger is hit, and somebody you know, one of your family members, God forbid, is also hit. And the cops come to you and they share the picture. Sorry, can you recognize, can you identify if this person is known to you? The emotions you will experience looking at one picture versus another are totally different. Why? Because inherently, it's not that you are hurt because somebody is hurt. We are hurt because somebody we know is hurt. Our attachment is hurt. Our love is rattled. But it doesn't matter who you are, what you may be, ultimately, it's insignificant. And I don't mean to make it sound very depressing. When Buddha said life is suffering, it has a cause, everything is suffering basically. Samsara is suffering. It was a view not too indifferent from the view that was held by many awakened ones before him and after him. It is because there comes a moment when you realize that I don't have to lead the kind of life I am leading. I don't have to be angry. I don't have to be mad. I don't have to be jealous. I don't have to prove anything to anybody. None of anything means anything at all. When Steve Jobs died, his last words were, oh, wow, oh, wow, wow. Those were his last words. He must have experienced, hopefully, uh, something so profound that unbelievable. I'm breathing my last, and maybe I'm seeing something magnificent. Or, wow, what a life it's been. But it doesn't matter who you are, what you are. one day all of this is going to come to a screeching halt. It's going to come all crashing down. None of what bothers you now and none of what defines you now is ever going to matter. A few days ago, you might have seen there is a cremation ground just outside the ashram. And from my place, you can easily see that. And many people gathered there with a dead body. It was wrapped very nicely, and they brought firewood and they set up fire, and the dead body was put on it, and they lit the fire, and the corpse turned to ashes, and then everybody went home. This whole affair lasted no more than 2 hours. 2 hours later, there was not even a sign that this person who got cremated even ever existed. He could have been a big landlord, he could have been anybody. Not even a single sign existed because the pyre was right at the bank of that river. And when it was just towards the end, the river just took it in its flow. So they won't even come a few days later to gather the remaining bones and stuff. That was it. Not even ash to be collected. This is where we are all headed. So if you really get a handle on this and never lose sight of this, everything is empty. Nothing has to mean anything unless I assign a meaning to it. Nothing means anything. At any point in time, life is as good as it gets. And it's up to me if I want to say, no, this is not the kind of life I want, which is a very ineffective way of communicating with the universe because nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. The universe says, fine, take it or leave it.